Okay, so here we are with the live stream number 13. And I have my great friend Callie, and she is an awesome person, very spiritual person, very smart business lady, wonderful mother and wife, and great person all around. She's super smart and knows tons of stuff. I'm going to add her in a second and have her tell us a little bit about her background, her business background, some interesting stories. If she wants, she can tell the story about where we met, how we met. I'll tell the French fry story if she remembers that. And it's awesome. So I'm adding Callie right this second. Here you go.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Like usual, I have to turn my volume on.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
you look wonderful. How are you today?
Oh, good. I'm just getting over an eye infection, which I hear everyone has been having. So this is my first day having my eyes back. I'm so happy to be able to see you.
My goodness.
I know. So how is life? Is it warm and wonderful?
Yeah, well, it's been raining a ton in Florida, but today is really nice, I think.
Yeah.
It changes like every 5 minutes in Florida. It's like beautiful and sunny 1 minute, and you look out the window the next minute, it's like a huge hurricane. So
I love it. Yeah, let's have another hurricane. There's another one headed to New Orleans today. Those poor people.
I know. I don't know if it's, is it rolling through on election day, or maybe it's all done before that?
I think done before that today. Yeah,
Very
rolling
good.
into a category 2.
Well, thank you so much for joining my live stream. This is awesome.
Yeah. So, okay, so things that the way that we met, yeah.
Go for it.
The stories that came to my mind, I can't repeat here. So, well, we were at Annie and Margie's beach house, and I was driving everybody because I'm not a big drinker, right? And so we went to this bar, and one of the guys with Margie's husband, Joey Braun, and then Joey's buddy, Charlie Ugas. And so then we're at the bar, and you knew Charlie Ugas because you guys went to elementary school together. And then I ended up driving everybody around that night. And we went to your beautiful home. Number 1 is the address. And you kept on saying, drive. And the beach was just, I was on the beach the whole time. I was like, am I going to end up in the ocean? Where is this? This is going to look bad here if I kill 10 people. But anyways.
I'm going to slow you down for people who don't understand. There's a house in Delaware. That's the first time we met. She was with some of my friends, and she had to drive through the sand in order to get to my house like everybody else does.
A really long ways, like probably a quarter of a mile, if not farther.
Well, like it changes from a moment to moment and year to year. The sand dunes blow in, and then the road gets improved, and then the sand blows back in, and it's just a constant battle.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. That was a great beach meet.
Well, I'm going to tell. Do you remember the French fry story, or shall I tell that?
I just remember. I can't tell what I remember. You tell yours.
Yeah. Well, I don't remember what you remember, so I'm going to tell a nice, simple French fry story that's harmless. So our mutual friend, was her name Charlotte?
I don't.
Who came with Charlie? Who I just can't remember. It's a long time ago, but in any event, the French fry story is we were at the local bar called Arenas, which everybody in Delaware knows. We were having a great time. We ordered a large French fries, and then I put a bunch of ketchup in the middle of the fries, and this girl freaked out in the middle of the restaurant, like, how could you do that? How do you assume that everybody likes ketchup? You're so selfish, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, it's cool. I'm going to order more fries. You know, I didn't realize that was just my mistake. Everything's fine. I'm going to order more fries. She's like, no, that's not the point. You can't. I'm like, this girl's freaking nuts. I'm like, get in line.
So if that was 10 years ago, then that would be sort of like the seed planted for PC craziness that we're in now, right? How insensitive could you be to put ketchup on your French fries?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like,
think there's a jail sentence that goes with that these days.
It was so funny. She's just like flipping out in the middle of the restaurant about ketchup. And I'm just like, it's no big deal. They have an endless amount of French fries. They'll just bring us more French fries. Plus half the fries had no ketchup on them anyhow.
No, my story, I honestly can't tell because I could hurt feelings with it. But it was about everyone telling the story of their name. Don't you remember that? No. Okay, I can't tell it because I don't want to get sued.
It was so long ago.
Yeah. So I have a little game. So is it just you and I today, or is there another buddy that's going to come and join us? Because I have a game.
Well, he's coming on after you're done at 11:20.
Okay, so I have a game for you.
Okay.
All right. Are you ready?
No, but go ahead.
All right. So I'm going to just tell you, and then you just say what you think, right? Okay.
Yes,
like when I'm going to say a word, and you just whatever comes to your mind.
Like a Rorschach test.
Yeah. Okay. Ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Krakatoa.
Volcano.
Yes. Do you know anything else about what happened with Krakatoa?
No.
It was a whole year of darkness.
Oh, that's 2020.
All over. Like the sun didn't shine for over a year, even though in the United States, even though it was like way far away.
I actually visited Mount St. Helens after it had erupted, like a year after.
Brave.
Really intense.
Yeah, I'm not into that. I'm not really cool with standing on the side of a volcano. Okay, next one. Although I did have a past life regression where I was like a lady in Pompeii who survived Pompeii. Like I remember being standing and I was all alone. It was depressing.
I guess we're not going to do your family background and your business background. We'll do that later. Go ahead with your.
Okay, so next one. Okay, dishwasher.
Dishwasher. Somebody else attending it.
Oh gosh.
I don't know much about dishwashers, I can assure you.
All right, so for a long time I ran an interior design firm, and I do a lot of kitchens now, a lot of kitchen planning. And then for the last 15 years, I've been honoring this calling, this gift, right? But you've got to integrate what I do, the spiritual side of what I do, which is really, let's call a spade, talking to the dead. But the fact is that we're living, and I really enjoy life. I love life. So I don't want to, even though I deal with a lot of grieving people and a lot of sadness, I want to make sure that everything sort of like locks back together, and then I'm always in gratitude. And so I started taking classes just for myself, and I'm on the last little bit here for my World War II master's degree. And I really think that like reincarnation is a real thing for me, at least. And so I love these World War II stories. And I read a book by Molly Rich, and it was called Vicarage in the Blitz, right? And so she just, anything gets thrown at her. And one of the neat things about this book is that she takes in a Jewish guy who is like in his early 20s, and this kid has the worst time. His sister manages to become a maid, which is how they all these refugees ended up in service, even though she was going on her way to her PhD. But he got caught up in everything. He went to the Isle of Man. He was a prisoner. His name just got on the wrong list because they thought he was a German sympathizer. He was Austrian. And he ended up being on this hell ship to Dinera, the HMS Dinera to Australia, like total hell ship with the Nazis. A bunch of people died, and it was so horrific that the true facts are locked down to 2050. That's how bad this hell ship was. Like Freud's nephews were on there, so like a bunch of Jewish guys and a bunch of Nazis. It was really bad. So anyways, Molly just writes and writes and writes and writes to him every week, and these are her letters to him. He kept them all. So it was like 800 letters. And she talks about anything and everything. And one of the things she talks about is having to feed people 3 times a day, sometimes 10, 15, 20, 30 people with this old smoky kitchen, like in a vast, like the kitchen was like 30 feet by 40 feet, and the mice, and she had no dishwasher. She was the dishwasher in the midst of everything else she had to do. And I just, in the first days of this COVID crisis, thought, oh God, what would my life be like if I didn't have a dishwasher, man? Like, this is the best invention ever. Like, you don't mind cooking, but cleaning up, I'm literally filling up my dishwasher sometimes two times a day. So that was.
Well, I think you know me well enough to know I can't cook and clean worth a heck. So.
Yeah. Well, for you, it'd be the recycling bin, right? Like having these people still doing their jobs with, even though it's dangerous, collecting the trash, collecting the recycling, because you do a lot of takeout.
I don't know if you remember, like a long time ago, like the one time I tried, or the 1 week or so, I tried to do my own laundry. Then I posted online I posted a picture of my thumb that had almost been like sliced off. Like, and then then I tried to cook a few times and my house almost burned down and I almost cut off my fingers. I'm like, no more cooking, no more dishwashing. That was a nice experiment.
Oh, I do remember that. And my girlfriend Francine had her picture in the Washington Post with an empty refrigerator because she took her 3 kids out for breakfast every day. I mean, listen, I'm a very good cook and I'm a really good baker, but even I am sick of my own cooking. But I'm even sicker of my own having to do my own cleaning. When life gets hard, I think sometimes it is important to look at the bigger picture. I mean, can you imagine living in America and Krakatoa's at the other corner of the earth and it's cloudy and you don't see sunlight for a year? I mean, how freaky would that be?
That's freaky. Now, my dear, can we, this is the funny part about these interviews is every single person I send emails to and I coach them and I tell them, I'm like, we're going to do your family background and your business background first. Nobody's ever actually followed the instructions before, sort of like my office. It's like, but eventually we solve all the issues at my office and on the live stream. We just don't do it in the right order. So.
Okay,
so again, what we're going to do is just, again, like where you were born, what your family is about, and then your business and background. And then you can say whatever you want to say about whatever you want.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so a family background. I can tell you from my years of doing readings and talking to you on phone.com that I am like beyond fortunate in my family. They're just the loveliest people. I cover myself every night with my wedding quilt. And on top of that is my crocheted quilt from my grandmother. And even though my mom is like the most sarcastic little missy, they're just, both my parents are brilliant people. So we survived. So I'm a 2-time gun violence survivor. So I was a hostage at 10. And then they came and hung effigies of my father. He worked for the government, tried to assassinate a government official.
Slow down, slow down and explain it slowly. It's a dramatic story that you can't just like gloss through. So just
it is a dramatic.
Explain what happened in bullet points so we understand. I already know, but the audience doesn't know. And also keep in mind we're saving this on YouTube forever. So.
Okay, so my father was one of the earliest environmentalists in what ended up being a body of government that really was formulating the most stringent rules. And so to this day, he's still very, very active in all sorts of very well-known organizations. So he was the first. They were the first. And what happened was all of these guys that owned dumps were kind of like mafia guys. And at the beginning, they would go to them and they'd say, oh, kill some rats, put out some fires. But they were just raking it in, man, by the millions and millions of dollars. I mean, just one day of them shutting down for dumping illegal toxic waste could cost them hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars. And so what happened was that eventually that's what they started doing. They were shutting them down. And so this one guy would call us at home. And I can remember picking up like the rotary dial, the phone, and saying, oh, wow, this guy, and my dad would say, you don't answer the phone anymore. And I'm like, I don't know. Okay. How weird is that? And it's not like today where the phone never rings. Then the phone rang every 5 minutes. But anyways, these guys thought that they would take care of the problem by killing my father, trying to assassinate my dad. And so there was a ton of messages at work. And I mean, this was the days before PR. There was no like in-between person. There was no spokesperson speaking for you. Luckily, my mother grew up with 3 brothers. And she was tough as nails. And I watched her telling these men with guns and ski masks, like, this is the scum I've been teaching you about all your life. To their face. And, you know, I had a 7-year-old behind me and a 5-month-old on my hip because the shower broke that day. And my mother was in the basement shower that had just been done when my brother was born. And so here I am 10 years old and my father was literally begging for his life. I mean, it was, please don't kill me in front of my kids. Please don't kill me in front of my kids. So, you know, that really, I guess, was the turning point for me. It's probably what really opened up that spiritual side. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it was a near-death experience, and that was the first of a lot. So I think that people are often surprised that I'm so grounded and that I actually have like intellect in addition to the spiritual side, and that somehow I'm able to make those both work. So that's the story of me. Yeah.
Well, you know, it's a really incredible story, and it's given you this incredible empathy and love of others in the world. And, you know, like myself, I haven't been through anything like that, but whatever it is, I like appreciate every minute, every second, everything I see, everything I do, all the people, because if you go through traumatic experiences, everything, every second is extra special after it's over.
I tear up when I hear you. You know, you had all of these health issues and surgeries, and you know, it's really, really hard because, you know, my pappy, who I adored and was just a very loving guy who wanted everybody to be, you know, healthy, happy, safe, healthy, happy. You know, like he lived on the river with boats, and boy, we each knew the rules. You did not run on the dock. You know what I mean? You wore shoes in the woods. There were snakes, but I never had so much fun in my whole life. But like you, he was very distanced from his family. You know, his dad, he literally ran away when he was like 8, 9, 10 and would go from southwestern Pennsylvania the whole way up to the Finger Lakes to visit with his daddy. Mm-hmm. And his mother wasn't that great of a mom, and his stepfather abused him and beat him. And so he really had nothing. And yet, if you had told me that like before I knew him as a grandfather who was so loving and fun and warm and compassionate, I wouldn't have believed you. So I don't, you know, upbringing isn't always the answer. And I do think it fosters gratitude.
Absolutely. Why don't you catch us up? I mean, it's an incredible story. You're going to come on another time because we have like a lot more stuff to talk about. But just for now, though, what I'd like to do is catch us up to date. What you're doing now? Do you still do design stuff? Are you still coaching people?
Yeah, you know what? I'm doing it all.
Are there events? Yeah.
Yeah, you know, so I do better one-on-one. So I do a lot of phone readings. I've never changed my prices. I'm thinking that maybe next year they might go up in a little bit. I'm $150 an hour for a full evidential medium reading that offers literally names, how people died, what their messages are. Trained by James Van Praagh. So the level of my work is international. You know, they started with me on TV for years and years. And I literally was told by producers I wasn't crazy enough. But if you really just want to connect with me,
for you, you're plenty crazy.
Yeah, I think so. But you know, they didn't know that. So
I'm kidding.
Yeah, the Long Island medium took my place. But anyways, in the cray category. But anyways, yeah.
Well, I just want to. Are you also doing design work still? I gotta get Soren in a couple minutes. So tell me the rest. Yeah. Tell me what else you want to tell me, and then we're going to add you again soon.
I would love that design work. I'm doing tons of kitchen and bath and whole home renovations, and we have a fabulous team of contractors. Because people know that I can envision what they need, and they know that instinctively I know what they need. Mm-hmm. So we're working with friends, everybody in Maryland.
And again, I mean, I used to look at your stuff a long time ago, which is very nice. So I presume your skills keep improving and improving. So it must be fabulous.
We're doing, I will post some things for you. Like cool. gorgeous things. Yeah.
Well, I'm so blessed and thankful that you joined us and we got this time together. And I can't wait to talk to you again soon. And
I feel the same way. It's so good to see you, honey.
Good luck with everything and happy family.
Yes, and you as well.
Okay.
I'd love to get our show once together.
Thanks. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
1 second, Soren. I got to figure out what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to add my buddy Soren here, and we're going to have a great time. Bam.
Bang! Hey, good morning.
How are you,
to
sir?
Mike.
You have a guitar with you?
Actually, I have 2 guitars with me. Hold on.
See what's going on here.
Yeah, at least. This
Nice.
is like a 70-year-old acoustic guitar. I bought it in London in Denmark Street. It's a collector's item, you know, similar to domains, yeah. And
Very
then,
nice.
I mean, but I'm in the office. I have more guitars at home. I have another nice one here. Hold on 1 second.
I just bought my son a mini Taylor for his birthday, which neither of us know how to play.
Do you know what a cratch is? Hold on.
Oh, yes, I sure do. Beautiful.
Yes.
Absolutely fabulous. Classic.
Billy Duffy from the Cult is playing such kind of guitar. And
sure.
I got inspired once we played with him 3 years ago in Las Vegas. So I thought, okay, at one point in my life, I also need to get a cratch.
You're the man.
No, you're the man. You're the man.
Well, where are you physically at the moment?
I'm based in Barcelona. This is what I call home for the last 3 years. And
Okay,
I
like
don't
4 in the
intend to
morning?
leave.
Like, what time is it there?
No, it's afternoon. It's 4:22 p.m.
Oh, glad to hear that. I wasn't sure if I woke you from a deep sleep or not.
Not at all. All good.
Well, I really appreciate you joining us. Now, what I try to do with guests is go in this order, which is somewhat irrelevant. But the point is you can just give me, if you'd like, you know, your background, your family background, your business background, and then we'll get into domains and business and current events if you want. Usually people go out of order. You can do whatever you want. I'll go on mute and tell me what's going on.
Okay, cool. I will try to follow your orders. I mean, that's what I learned when you talked to Callie earlier. So, okay, let's start with the family. I do have 3 kids, actually. I have a wonderful 15-year-old boy. He lives in Zurich, Switzerland. And I have 2 little young girls living here in Barcelona, 4 years and 2 years old. So really little cuties, you know, I really enjoy them a lot, 2 little girls. And I have a wonderful girlfriend. We just started dating before the confinement in March, basically, or like mid-February or something like this. And this is something interesting. So she was one of the people, you know, who lost her job during the confinement, you know, working for like a listing company for Airbnb, homestay type of properties and so on, property managers. And she got very interested in, obviously, in what I'm doing on a daily basis. So she's a linguist by profession. And she basically did the course at DN Academy, you know, to understand the domaining business. So she made use of her time in the last couple of weeks or months, let's say. And so I have a nice sparring partner at home right now when we discuss domains or news which are hitting the market.
I thought we were doing your family background.
My family background. Okay, I talked about my family. Okay,
yeah,
hold on.
Perfect. First of all, that was perfect, and I appreciate all that. I'm just joking with you. But if you want, you can tell me again, like, if you want, it's up to you, like where your parents were born, where you were born, what people do, and then the girlfriend today.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Let's do that. Yeah, basically, I'm a German kid. You know, I got born in Germany. My parents are German. We grew up in a very, very, let's say, typical middle class environment. Let's say, you know, not poor, not rich. You know, so I always had to fight for my own money. You know, so and I was always very, very driven with that. So I quit school when I was 16. So I dropped out of high school. Instead of that, I started an apprenticeship at Frankfurt Airport, which is called now Fraport, which is the authority which runs the Frankfurt Airport. So this is my profession. What I really learned is like running an airport. I finished this apprenticeship. You know, in Germany, you get like an official, you know, it's like a alternative way to study, basically, you know. So I was ready when I was 18 or 18 and a half So I started my own tour operator business because I met with this friend, you know, at Frankfurt Airport, which became back then, at the same time when I was finished, he became the country manager for Air Seychelles. Seychelles is a small group of islands in the Indian Ocean. It's very, very beautiful. And basically he said, like, look, I have this airplane once a week now, every Friday evening, you know, from Frankfurt to Seychelles, so I need to fill the seats. So why don't you run a tour operator business and help me to fill the aircraft, basically? And this was just before the internet. I think I founded that company around 95, 96, you know. I mean, obviously domains and everything were still around, but it was not widely used. So basically the catalog, you know, which I presented was either a real physical catalog, which went through the travel agencies who sold the product or whatever, or I think I was the first one in the tour operator business who did CD-ROMs, you know. And also, I think I was one of the first tour operators who had a website. So this was in, I think I sent it to you yesterday. So I registered my first .com domain with Network Solutions in '99, you know, for whatever, you know, $90, $100, $150 registration fee it was back then. And I mean, I sold the company. So that was my first company. I started it when I was 18. I sold it when I was 21. So that was my first money I made, little money I made. And what is very interesting, the seller, you know, who bought my company and took over also the domain name and everything, you know, I never really looked until like 2 or 3 months ago, where did this domain end up with after all those years, which I registered back then in '99, gondwanatours.com, and it's now part of a NameFind portfolio, which is very funny, you know, because as you know, the mother company of NamesCon is GoDaddy, you know, with a NameFind portfolio. So kind of domain ended up, you know, where I ended up, you know, doing business right now.
Very nice. Can you tell me about the history of the domain name conferences and how you got involved and what's going to happen next?
Yeah, of course. Happy to do that. You know, I'm coming from this hosting industry background. You know, maybe I have to tell before I go into this domain thing, is like, after I sold the tour operator business, you know, the digital world was starting, and on the same floor, you know, where I was working in Germany, Northern Germany, in this business building, where were these guys who founded a company called configs.com, you know, which was like a control panel, like Plesk or cPanel, yeah. And we were the first ones in Germany. So we were first ones, you know, serving all the big customers like 1&1 and so on, you know, in Germany, offering dedicated servers and so on, and where you need a control panel based on. And this company eventually became very big, you know, and it evolved into a company called Parallels. Parallels got almost $1 billion company, you know, it got split into 4 pieces. So, and the most interesting piece for me, you know, all 4 pieces got sold, basically, you know, there's all new ownership, like one part got bought by Ingram Micro, another part by private equity, and so on and so forth. So, and this piece, you know, which I originally started in Germany, Configs, you know, we merged it in the very beginning with Plesk. And I mean, Plesk got sold as one of these 4 products out of Parallels. And now, as you know, it's in hand of private equity, and it has the same ownership as cPanel. So we basically cPanel and Plesk got merged into one company. And this is like, for me, like looking back at that, you know, how we started that thing and what kind of extremely profitable company it became out of, you know, with such a high market share. In that specifically niche field, which is surfing, that is amazing. So this is my background. You know, I was always talking to the big guys like GoDaddy, 1&1, you know, DigitalOcean, AWS, Google Cloud, but I never talked with them about domains. You know, always about the cloud components of the industry. But obviously, domains are very close or auxiliary, you know, to the cloud industry, or in some parts for the mass market hosting companies, it's an underlying layer. Yeah. Mike, I don't hear you.
Oh, I turned it off. I was just saying the domains are number one in the chain. You need the domain to do anything else. I'm just saying you're talking about the domains. I'm just clarifying the position of domains.
You're right. Okay, that's a
the
much
tip of
better
the
position
spear.
how you did it. Yeah, but you know, it's what I'm trying to say is like domains and cloud industry is somehow related. You know, so so I always had an eye on it over the last 20 years. You know, what is observing in the domain industry. And when basically, you know, CloudFest was always doing great. It's a cash machine, you know, it's generating a lot of cash. And like 4 or 5 years ago, we were, maybe not so much now in this year, but in general, yeah. And 4 or 5 years ago, my friend Christian Dawson, who runs the largest industry association for the cloud industry, I2 Coalition, it's called. He said, look, I think, you know, there's these great guys, Richard and James, you know, they, I think they want to sell NamesCon. So why don't you talk to them? And I was at ICANN in Dublin, and like late at night, 3 a.m., 4 a.m. That was the first time when, yes, exactly, when I met over Guinness, Richard and James. The discussions started, and deal was done in a 3 to 4 months period, quite fast. So, and then after that, I really had to go on a learning trip, you know, to really understand. I understand registry and everything, but domain investors were the new breed I had to learn about.
Well,
so,
just to be clear, you had to learn it after you bought it.
Or a little while doing it, let's say, while doing it.
Can I sell you some stuff?
Sure.
Don't worry about the due diligence.
That's a good point. That's a good point. You know, I mean, you know, for me, the missing registrars, we also at CloudFest, all the registrars and registries, the large ones, are all our exhibitors, you know. And VeriSign is our title sponsor for CloudFest, you know, for many years, you know, every year again. So this was not new, you know. What was new for me was the domain investor piece. Who are the players behind that, like you, for example? How does the whole thing work, you know? And so for me, watching what you're doing here is very informative for me, and I really enjoy it. It's like, what is my domain worth? How someone is approaching appraisals, you know? This is something I really try to spend a couple of hours per week on it, just to understand.
Sure. So just we're going to do some domain appraisals in like 5 minutes, but if you could just tell me more about a couple things. First of all, again, the current state of the domain conferences, and also, you know, you talk about doing investing and some other companies and rock and roll, etc. I'm just curious, again, there's people watching this, they're going to watch it on YouTube. Can they get a job? Can they become an investor? Can they become a business partner? Can they join the conferences? Like, how does the world join in? And can they link to you on social media? Like, there's an interactive environment here. How do we get going with the world?
Okay, very, very, very good point. Okay, let's start maybe what you mentioned first with the conferences and what's happening to them. I mean, as you all know, for the event industry, this was a very tough year. And, you know, we were quite happy that we were still able to do NamesCon in January this year in Austin physically. But our big show is CloudFest, you know, it's 80% of our revenue, or even more than 80%, you know, it's not NamesCon, which was scheduled for March. And I mean, this was obviously a big hit on us, you know, in order to, how can I say, you know, we have like hundreds, even, I think even thousands of contracts, you know, with suppliers, with moderators, with stuff like that, which you need to roll back. Hundreds of contracts with sponsors, the whole communication. How do you set up a communication? What do we do now with a team? You know, so I mean, what we did something similar like you early on in April or so. I started something called Cloud Unchained, which was bi-weekly, not weekly, you know. And that was for me, okay, we need to get a starting point. The world is changing. Physical events, in my opinion, will never become the same again. There will be a mind shift, you know, how people make decisions attending physical events and stuff like this. So I said, we need as a team a starting point to move on, you know, and something similar what you did here, you know, was something we did over the summer with trial and error, A and B testing, learning how this new thing works and so on. And obviously next year, more or less everything will be virtual. You know, we
well, do. Let me talk to you about that for 1 second. And I'm not disagreeing with you, but I just want to make a comment. If there's conferences in the world that are your competitors, and then 90% of those are canceled, but then the world keeps populating and the world wants to leave their house, and the world already has left their house, 75% of the people. And you'll actually be in a good strategic position to have a live conference because there aren't any other ones.
Yes, but it's a matter of prediction. You know, it's like, it's not a small show like you do here. You know, it's like, let's say for CloudFest, you know, this is a multi-million revenue business. You know,
okay,
and
well, let me. But you know much more about it. But my point is just not that it's ready now, or maybe not even in 2021. But your implication is that it'll never be the same. And I would say that, you know, people want to leave their house, and if all your competitors are out of business, maybe 2022, you could have the world's best conference, let everybody wear a mask and put them in a plastic booth with dancing girls.
Yeah. Okay, I think I understand what you mean. You know, let me maybe clarify. I think, you know, what is changing is the mindset of people, you know, how they approach the decision to go to a conference, as well as how corporates or companies take over the decision for the employee, you know, to make a decision if he's allowed to travel or not. And that is something which will dramatically change, you know. That is what I mean. So, yeah.
But again, I mean, if in 2 years from now, it seems to me that you could have a sort of new model, you know, half the old model, half the new model, and you could probably fill the stadium up. I don't know enough about it, but, you know, I don't like the doom and gloom, like the world's never going to come back because of coronavirus. I don't think that's an accurate assumption.
I agree with you, Mike, and I don't want to doom it at all. You know, I was just trying to say it's a mind shift, you know, which we have to deal with, how decisions are made, how to go to something. And I mean, that is obviously very important for sponsors, you know, and for the overall concept, like how you can make money with a conference or not, you know. And with virtual conferences, you can definitely never ever achieve the amount of revenue you can achieve with physical events, because of physical branding items, which are much less in the virtual world. So so that's a shift. So we have to shift our business model, and that's what we are doing.
Yeah, and you know, for those who know me, I was already basically in quarantine, just working from my house. I don't go on an airplane unless somebody forces me. I like driving around, but in general, you know, the COVID environment, I was already somewhat familiar with, although I like going out at night to see music, which when they shut that down, that's sort of disturbing. But it's actually opening back up about 50% around in South Florida. So.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, in Europe it's a little different. You know, more or less every country is preparing for the second wave. You know, so we have now, and I'm living in Spain, as I said. So we have a new state of alarm, which is going until end of May next year. Yeah. With a curfew from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. until end of May next year. So it's a very long cycle. And when the regional governments were able to put more on it. So I live in Barcelona, and we are very highly affected with 8,000 cases for a very, very small region, you know, per day right now. So we're expecting a real hardcore lockdown this Friday, in 2 days from now.
Sure.
And same, so I just read the same when I went onto it with Germany and so on. So in Europe, you know, we see this second wave coming, the second directions, which just makes it unpredictable for 2022. You know, so we had to make a decision to go virtual for now, you know, but obviously, I mean, 2022, 2023, hopefully the world will change. But my personal opinion is it will be very slow and it will be different.
Yeah. I mean, I'm being pretty careful, but personally, I actually think I got it in the beginning. I was before we even knew it was in the United States. I was so sick last January, and my son was actually sick too. My son got tested, and they tested him for everything on earth, and they couldn't figure it out because there was no test for coronavirus. So I'm not positive. We could have both been sick with something else, but I personally think that I have immunity from being sick from it already. I could be wrong, and I'm being careful irrespective of that idea.
You have immunity against a lot of things, most likely.
Considering what I had to survive, I guess so.
Yes. That's a good one.
Not to mention in the business world, that is a parallel to my other world where I had to survive everything in the business world, and I'm going to dominate, of course. At least I have to believe it. Self-confidence is my teaching and my philosophy in my book and what I try to teach the people that work with me. So whatever reality is happening, we have self-confidence regardless. Yeah.
Hey, Mike, I have this great idea for a long time, but I had no time yet or resources to pursue it. You know, I started my own band, Lords of Uptime because of data center uptime and so on for the cloud industry. And at one point, I would like to make a band for the domain industry, and I think we need a drummer.
I'm your man, although David Costello is quite good as well. But I'm a better hand drummer. He can play let him play the trap kit, and I'll play the percussion.
Percussions. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. You do the percussions.
Too, but
yeah. Okay. So my idea is for the name of the band, and I would like to get your feedback on that. What do you think about the zone files?
The zone files? That sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
I own earful.com though. I think we should use that. It's an earful. It's a double entendre, earful. It's like an earful of bullshit.
Very good. I like that one.
I also own rockconcerts.com, rocktheworld.com. We can use those.
Oh,
playing rock.
Okay. You're in the band. You're hired.
I bring resources.
You know who also lives in Florida and who can sing and rap extremely well? Do you know Jonathan Tenenbaum?
Yeah, I know him. I haven't met him in person, but yeah, he's the head of NameJet.
Yeah, exactly. And
he's in northern Florida somewhere. That's why they were like, I think that's part of web.com's in northern Florida.
Exactly. It's part of web.com right now. But Jonathan, he played with, he was opening up for guys like Wu-Tang Clan and stuff like this. Seriously. He was like semi-professional. He's really, really good. Yeah, we should.
He's in our band. I mean, for one thing, their company gets all my money, so we might as well add him to my band.
Yeah. And I mean, someone who's called Tenenbaum needs to be in the band, right?
Exactly. Tenenbaum. Yeah. We'll change him to Tenorbaum. Tenorboom.
Yes.
Okay, so you have some domains to appraise, and we're going to do some other people's domain appraising. Is there anything else you want to say before we go into that?
Oh, I talked so much already. Let's go into the real stuff now.
Yeah, no, I just want to make
everyone is waiting for.
I just want to make sure I didn't gloss over anything in particular you wanted to say.
All good.
Okay. So Well, then I'm going to share my screen so people can see, again, what's going on here. So what I do is I'm just doing a quick and dirty domain appraisal using Google, which is a tool that everybody has access to. In the real world, I do domain appraisals a different way, which are much more accurate and time consuming and has helpers and software and tons of data. What I'm doing here, though, is just the most quick and dirty domain name appraisal. So it's the best you can do, you know, with the limited tools and the limited time we have. And the idea is to have Soren learn about domains, since he bought the domain industry, but he forgot to study domains before he did so. So we're going to teach him about domains and teach you guys. I'm just joking. And I'm going to teach everybody about domains. And the idea is so you can use these ideas later when I'm not online, where you can appraise your own domains and your friends' domains, and you can engage in the auctions and get a better realistic valuation of the stuff you own now, the stuff you want to own in the future. Keep in mind a couple of basic ideas is that any automated domain tool is counterproductive because it has no chance of giving you the right answer unless it's just a coincidence that it happens to hit it. And therefore, the downside is that people depend on the wrong numbers. So you really do not want to use an automated domain appraisal tool because it'll only confuse you about the value of your domain. And again, most domains in the world are worth zero, but since there's hundreds of millions that are registered, you know, there's like probably 10 million great ones that are worthwhile to sell on the secondary market. There's which are almost all .com. There's probably another 50 million, I'm just guessing here, that have valid websites on them. So while they're great domain names, it's irrelevant because they'll never be bought or sold on the secondary market. So what we're concerned with is domain appraisals for good domain names that do not have websites associated with them. I'm not appraising the value of a website, the value of traffic, just of the conceptual brandability of a .com domain to a future buyer. How much should it be worth to a buyer? So again, it's a rough appraisal. There's no right answer because it's not a liquid market. These things aren't traded enough. There's not enough comps. But the good news is when you're doing this with me is I've appraised more domains than everybody in the world, and I've probably sold more domains than anybody one at a time. Plus I've sold an entire collection before. So we're just going to do the best we can at appraising some of Soren's domains. So my man, what is the first and best one? I'm going to share my screen and you tell me what I should appraise.
Okay, let's do that. I also have to say, you know, this is just like part of a small learning. You know, I don't want to be a broker. I don't want to be in the business of actively selling domains or everything. And so I thought, look, like 3 or 4 years ago, I was looking into 2 areas: stand-up paddling, SUP, and the other one is yoga. And with yoga, I did something which is more or less like using the Sanskrit descriptions of poses or different yoga styles or whatever. However, this is obviously very, very difficult when it comes to comparable sales and stuff like this. So let's start with one of stand-up paddling domains. Let's start with SUP for stand-up paddling, lake.com.
I gotta put it in quotes here. I'm sorry, I gotta get organized.
Sure.
Okay, so SUP Lake, we do everything in Boolean because Google's not trying to give us accurate results. They're trying to give us the most results and get us to click on the most ads. They're not trying to give us the best search engine. They're a monopoly, and hopefully Trump will shut it down in the second, the monopoly aspect of it in his second term. So SUP Lake. So again, for people who don't know it, SUP means stand-up paddleboard. It's also cool because it's like, what's up? What's up? Stand-up paddleboard. Stand-up paddleboard lake. You know, again, a lake's a good place to do it because it's hard to do it in the waves. So, and there's millions of lakes in the world, and I bet a lot of people want to use a stand-up paddleboard. It's nice. Most of them don't have any motors. If they do have a motor, it's even cooler. So, you know, the name itself, what we're trying to do is 3 things with every name. We're trying to disambiguate them. What do they mean? Then we're trying to find the breadth how many potential buyers might there be? And then we're trying to find the depth, which is essentially what would the very best, most rich buyer pay for this thing. So again, in this case, disambiguating it, it means a lake for stand-up paddleboarding, but the issue is how many other ways there are to say that if somebody needed a domain for a stand-up paddleboard lake. It could be sup lakes, it could be sup waterways, it could be stand-up lake, stand-up waterways, stand-up, ocean. You could say it a lot of other ways, so that dilutes the value of the name, but we still know what it means. So we're kind of into the breadth here. How many people would want it? Well, there's actually a lot of people that would want it because they have lakes and they do stand-up paddleboarding. So again, we know what it means. It's not a perfect expression, and it hasn't been around long because the expression sup hasn't even been around long. So it's not a deeply linked expression for certain. There is a lot of hits here, but it's not necessarily in context. Remember, Google's not giving us good results. There's a hyphen in between here, which means it's not really giving me the result I'm looking for. But in any event, there's a lot of activity here with respect to the breadth of the name. There's a lot of lakes and a lot of people offering, water sports at these lakes. So it has a lot of breadth. The depth of it, however, is that there's too many other alternatives. And this thing, again, isn't an embedded expression. But since there's such a large breadth and there are so many lakes, and this is such an emerging sport with a lot of money being spent on it, there is definitely a considerable value. So there's sort of a dichotomy here in that it's not perfect, but there's a lot of value to a growing industry. This is clear English to the extent you know what sup means. Lake is easy to spell. It's a 7-letter expression. It's all solid. We'll look at it for one more minute and then give it a price. Beautiful pictures. This is the best part of my job. I do this all day long because I have to research the domains. I want to go here. Oh, they do the stand-up paddleboard yoga. I forgot about that. They do that in Dewey Beach, actually. They probably do it here, actually, in Deerfield, too. That's a beautiful shot. So, but again, it's not the identical expression. It says sup yoga. It happens to be on a lake, so it's showing up. Again, Google's giving me crappy results. It's not giving me exact results. I'm looking for exact results. I put quotation marks in Boolean, which implies I just want to see exact results. But this is a good hit right here. Okay, so the answer is it's worth $10,000.
Question to you. I understood it, with all the alternatives you have. So I have a couple of more, like SubOcean or SubPacific.com, SubAction.com. Are there maybe any better ones like Lake?
In general? You're saying ones you don't own?
No, I own all of those.
You're asking me which one not one? Which one?
SubAction or SubPacific, for example.
Paste it in the stream so I can see, and then you want me to pick the best ones out?
SubAction, SubPacific. Hold on, I'm taking a look. One second, please, Mike. Just taking a look.
That's the name of a corporation, so that's a good sign. SubAction paddleboarding, but doesn't look like a very wealthy corporation, but it is a corporation.
Okay, hold on. I'm copying you a couple of insight, and I mean, you don't have to appraise them right now. It's just my question.
I don't mind.
Is there any better alternative, to Sup Lake?
Well, again, SubAction is better than Sup Lake. Is the answer.
Okay.
And again, it's also the name of at least one corporation that I've already seen. So again, if you're looking at, I think you can still see my share screen, right? So you see right here, here's SubAction, a company in Puerto Rico. Here's another one. We could look up if it's the same or a different one. If it's a different one, that adds to the value of the breadth. And the larger the company adds to the depth. These are tiny companies. So again, it's back to the similar to the other one as far as the valuation is concerned, but this one actually has more direct hits. The word action applies everywhere. Lake only applies on a lake. So I would say action is also the word action. I just happen to know is a very good keyword that people like for branding. So it has a value to it. So yeah, I mean, this is just the sub action is worth a little tiny bit more than the other one is the answer. So
okay,
it's probably worth 15,000.
Okay, I see. I just posted you another one into the, our chat here. Vinyasa teacher. Vinyasa is one of the most famous styles of yoga.
Yes, I'm familiar. My
familiar?
family, I don't do yoga, but my family is heavily into it, and one of my exes is a yoga. I'll actually show you since we're on this.
Okay.
This dude is my stepfather.
Schumacher.
That's my stepfather. He's a famous old man, yogi instructor.
Nice.
And then let's see here.
Vinyasa. Okay.
This is my mom, not that one, but this lady is my mom.
Nice.
She's an old lady with a skinny body and can stretch around. She's
amazing,
a yoga instructor. She's a yoga instructor too. And this is the girl that used to give me yoga lessons, and she's a yoga instructor and she's also a Pilates instructor, but my body is messed up relatively, so I don't do it anymore. Plus I got her this, check out this domain name though. I got her this domain name, wellwithin.com. Can't beat that, huh?
No, that's great. Wow.
So in any case,
good.
I'm not a yoga person, but I know a little bit about it. So it's Vinyasa Yoga. Is that the domain?
I was on mute. Sorry. The domain name is Vinyasa Teacher.
Whoa, very nice. Well, that's very solid. So again, we know what it means. It's a teacher who teaches one of the most common methods of yoga. Yoga is extraordinarily popular, and vinyasa is one of the most popular forms of it. It might be a tiny bit hard to spell, but if you're in the yoga community, they know how to spell it. And there's a great name. We know exactly what it means as far as disambiguating it. Now, keeping in mind, it could be vinyasa instructor, vinyasa instructors, vinyasa teachers, vinyasa teaching, vinyasa education, yoga teacher, yoga teacher. So there's a lot of alternatives. It's still a great name, but there are a lot of alternatives you need to be aware of before you're buying and selling domains, because the point here is that people are buying domains, they're holding them, and they're hoping somebody's going to pay a huge price for them. And the people will not pay a huge price if they can buy an alternative at a lower price. So you want to discover what alternatives are available before you appraise the domain or buy a domain or sell a domain. So we're thinking through the alternatives while we do our appraisal. But as far as the disambiguation, we know exactly what it means. It's a great name. That's for starters. The breadth is extraordinarily broad, very broad. There's thousands of vinyasa teachers down the chain. So that's the breadth is thousands, and the depth is one of them probably has a lot of money and should pay up because it's such a great domain name. So yeah, I've actually met Mr. Iyengar before. My relatives are all disciples of Mr. Iyengar. He passed away a few years ago, but about 10 years ago, I sat next to Mr. Iyengar at dinner, which was funny because it was the same day I spoke on the phone to Deepak Chopra. It was like my spiritual day. Well, my one spiritual day.
Yeah, one spiritual day in life. Okay.
So with respect to this name, though, it's an awesome name. There are alternatives, but all the alternatives are valuable if they're as focused as this name. It's relatively easy to spell. It's not that short. You know, you have to discount it because there's alternatives, because it's not that short, because it's not necessarily an English expression, vinyasa. But again, we can see in the images, there's a lot of depth to this domain. So this is the best domain you own, as far as I know. 40,000 valid looking hits in Google. Again, it's using it's using capital case there, so that's a proper noun, which makes it more valuable. So, you know, there's no right answer. We can go through this process I like to do of stages. Like, is this thing worth 100,000? No way. Is it worth 10,000? Too cheap. Is it worth 50,000? No way. Is it worth 20,000? Maybe. It's worth 30,000. Maybe. It's worth 40,000. Nope, that's too expensive. 30,000. I think it's worth 30,000, but it's too weird and too long, so it's worth 25,000. There you have it.
Okay, I see. Okay, last one. You can decide hummingcraft.com, which is a yoga pose, or tantric yoga center, which is more or less the same like before, because there's a lot of alternatives and it's a freeword.com. Which one do you like to do? Hummingcraft or tantric yoga center?
Well, I'll do tantric yoga center. So that has no results. It's very long. We know what it means. It's a freaky yoga method that nobody wants to do marketing around. Very long. And it's easy to spell and easy to say. I actually thought it was going to have more activity. You have this one dude here, the pursuit of the ultimate love and happiness. I got to jot down.
Not with him. Not with him.
But I got to jot down this number real quick before we go. Hold on, 714. Okay, so I got to jot down her number too. She's kind of cute. Uh-oh, it's getting kind of freaky here. Whoa, it's getting really freaky now. Okay, no deal on Tantric Yoga Center. So,
okay, got you.
We're going to go through it. We're still going to go through the process. We know what it means. It's Freaky Yoga Center. There's 1,000 other ways to say it. It's 3 words, which exponentially opens up in alternatives ways of saying it and spelling it. But this is a relatively specific thing, so there aren't that many alternatives. But in general, if there's 3 words, it opens up exponential risk because there's so many alternatives. It's too hard to sell it, even if it's a cool name, if it's that long and it's 3 words. But in this case, okay, we know what it means. The breadth is hardly any, and the depth is hardly any. And the answer is it's not worth anything. But, you know, $200.
Okay, got you. That was super helpful for me, Mike. Thanks a lot.
Thank you a lot for joining me and talking through this. We'll do a couple more domain appraisals. You can hang up or stay on. It's up to you.
Well, I'm staying on. Why not? Okay. I'm learning.
Okay, cool. Well, let's see who else posted what they posted for us here. And we'll do some more domain appraisals. Okay, so I have DNA Laboratory, Stock Mentorship. I'll do a couple of these. DNA Laboratory. Okay, so first of all, what does it mean? It means that the DNA lab, which, you know, we know what it means, disambiguated, keeping in mind that it could be DM labs, laboratories, DNA offices. You know, again, you could get a thesaurus and come up with 100 other things probably. Could be genetic labs, genetic laboratory, genetic this. So there's a lot of alternatives, and there always are for any two-word domain name, and there are much more alternatives for any 3-word domain name. For a 1-word domain name, there aren't a lot of alternatives, so that's where the big dollars are if you get that right. In any event, we've disambiguated this. We know what it means. The breadth is all the DNA laboratories in the world. Have to assume there's at least hundreds, so that's a good sign. And they're very, very rich, but they probably use the name of pharmaceutical companies. You know, that's one thing about medical people is they use weird names and corporate names. They don't usually use like generic expressions unless they're like some kind of tiny startup or something. So in any event, we can see DNA laboratory testing, testosterone, phenylalanine. Well, Soren can tell me what this means. What's effarganin? My man?
Experiences.
DNA laboratory experiences? That sounds dangerous.
Yeah.
Sounds like, you know, the freaky doctor from South Park. Do you really want an experience at the DNA laboratory?
No. I mean, you know, actually, you know what? In one way or another, we currently have experiences with DNA laboratories all the time, because PCR tests are actually DNA tests, nothing else. So, so basically, whenever you go to PCR test, they take a part of your DNA.
Well, I think we're going to make a South Park site with this name. See, they create some cool monsters on South Park in the DNA lab. Okay, so this is what I do when I'm doing my work, so I don't get too bored. So DNA laboratory, not that I'm bored now, but I'm saying when I work all night by myself, I take little sideshows and look at South Park and whatnot. So this thing, we know what it means. It has a lot of breadth and it has a lot of depth, since the DNA labs have a lot of money. So it's hard to say what it's worth. You know, if I had my tool set, we could look for comps. We could see a lot of other data, traffic, what other people are saying about it. There's a lot of different information that we could get, but for now we're going to rush through.
Why are you reviewing so many DNA domains over the last couple of episodes?
Why have I been? I think it's the same people, probably. Most likely I have the same viewers that collect certain themes, and then they keep pasting the names from their theme. I'm guessing. I don't really know why. I just look at the wall and pick off names. Okay. But
I have an idea who's behind this. Very good person. Yeah.
The person who the early bird gets the worm.
Yes.
So in any event, we'll do our little process here. Is this thing worth 50,000? That would be a big stretch. Worth 25,000? Possible. 10,000? Sounds more possible. It's a long name with a lot of other choices. 5,000? It's too cheap. 10,000? A little expensive, really. It's a long name that's too many alternatives. So it's worth 7,000.
Sold.
It's a good deal. First of all, when I say the price, I mean, this is a great value for the buyer to build a website, or it's a great investment. These are superpremium.com domains that go up in value. Anything that's worth $7,000 now is going to go up in value. If it's worth 1,000 now, it might never go up in value. If it's worth 0 now, it'll never go up in value. If it's worth 10,000, it'll probably go up in value. If it's worth $1 million, it'll almost definitely go up in value, because those things are dramatically underpriced. The very best domains in the world that corporations can leverage to make millions and billions of dollars are extraordinarily underpriced. So those will all go up in value, the very best .coms. This is not one of the very best, but again, it's worth 5, 10, whatever, 1,000. It'll be worth 15 or 20 in the next couple of years, and 30 and 40 a couple of years after that. So I'll do a few more so I don't bore you guys to death. See, I just have to look and see what people put on my wall here. Stock mentorship, that sounds pretty good. Basement built, that sounds pretty good. That would be a Joe Biden theme. Okay, so we have basement built. We'll do that one first.
Righttimeisnow.com.
Basement built and right time is now. Okay, hold on a sec. First, I'm going to do basement built, and then I'll do the other one. Okay, so basement built. What does it mean? You know, I mean, we know theoretically what it means, but it's not a popular expression. Have you ever heard somebody say basementbuilt.com? I've heard of basement builders, basement building, basement architecture. I don't know, basement design. Never heard of basement built. and there's basement built-ins, which is what they're showing the picture of. Nobody would know the word basement built is the same as basement built-ins. So we're hurting here, and we're going to move quickly because it has very little value. Basement built-ins actually has some decent value, but that's not the name. It has to be an exact match. Just because it's close doesn't mean anything. So basement built, is worth nothing. I don't know what to say. I mean, we're disambiguating it, but it doesn't actually mean anything in popular lexicon. There's no brand.
I agree with you.
There's no corporations. It just doesn't mean anything. The breadth is nobody would want it, and the depth is they won't pay anything for it. So I'm sorry to say, basement built is not worth anything.
Right time is now.
Yes, sir. I got that one right here. I saved it. Okay. Well, first of all, it should be the right time is now. So it's dilutive. There's 4 words, but it's an expression. So it's not 4 disjointed words. Expressions actually could be very valuable. This one's particularly long. It's 4 terms. And again, it should be 5 terms. The right time is now. In fact, if you look at these, they all have the word the in it. So what you really need to do is use Boolean and get rid of the word the to see now you know. But keeping in mind that the word the dilutes it, we're just removing it so we can get context of the value of the name without the. These are all the same people, same little thing that doesn't seem very exciting. It is German, though, if you see Soren. Builder Welden. What's Bilter Welfen mean? Bilter Welten?
Like picture worlds.
I see. Yeah.
It's mostly picture worlds. That's
right.
what it means.
Got you. Well, I know Welton is worlds. That makes sense. So right time is now. Again, so we're just looking at some pictures. Oh, well, Black Lives Matter is a big deal. Maybe this has political context. So this is the wrong number where it says about 50 results. They're lying. It's Google. They're not giving you good results. You got to go to the bottom. And it's almost impossible to realize there's a tiny little link here in italics. I happen to know it's there. I'm giving you the secret that this is the right results. You have to click this stupid link to find the correct results. Don't ask me why. Correct result is 857, which is a low number without the word the. Yeah. There's a book, a notebook. So, okay, so we know what it means, and it does have some political context, so it might be important. There could be people that want to use it, although it's not really showing up in the search results. Could show up other places if we had a bigger data set. So the number of people that would use it, I mean, a political activist could use it, and there's millions of political activists, so there's some value to the breadth. The depth is, there's too many alternatives. You could say anything that isn't so long. There's no way anybody would pay a lot of money for this, even though it's a kind of a cool expression. $3,000. Very good. What else do we have here? You guys want to do a few more, or am I boring everybody? There's 21 people here, so I guess we're still in business. Teens insurance. Let's find some good ones. You guys put so much stuff on here. Just put good ones on here so I don't have to go through all this stuff. Good Lord.
If you ask people to do this will not work.
Here's a good one. OTAR, Florida Med Spa. I need that as soon as this broadcast is over. Okay, Florida Med Spa. So, it's 3 words. We know what it means. It's a medical spa, which in Florida is an extraordinarily popular idea. Millions of people come here fantasizing about going to the med spa. But the issue is there's too many other ways of saying it. 3 words. That's not the right number of results. Again, you have to go down to this stupid link to find the right number. There's 61,000 results. That's good, but that's medical spa, not med spa. That's not the word we're.
Now, I think you have to change the screen, Mike. We see still the right time is now.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you for, I'm glad you're here to tell me. I need to leave a guest on to guide me every time. I just,
that's my job. I'm an event manager. That's what I do. You know, I get paid for this.
Well, you can come on and be my guide in general. So the right number for med spa is 5790. I think I'd rather, you know, medical spa is longer, but it's perfect context. So in any case, they dilute one another. You could also call it Florida Health Spa, FL Health Spa, FLA Health Spa, Boca Health Spa, which would be the coolest, Palm Beach Med Spa, Palm Beach Spa, Boca Spa, too many other choices. Having said that, Florida Med Spa is a great domain name because the demand for Florida medical spa services is extremely high. It's just not the perfect expression for it. So we know what it means, disambiguated. The breadth is, you know, there's 1,000 Florida med spas. The depth is very shallow because we know there's too many alternatives. So there you have it. We're going to just come up with a price. Again, these are cheap names. I like more expensive names to appraise, but it's a good name. It's a very good name. I'd list it at $5,000 just because the price of Florida spa services is just so high. If somebody owns that domain and gets one customer, they'll probably spend $5,000 and that'll pay for the domain and they'll have a great domain forever for free. So the domain's not that great. You could make a justification that it's not worth 5,000. If somebody offered me 2,500, I'd probably take it. But it's worth 5,000, whether you can sell it for that or not, just because it is a contextual name for a very valuable industry. The services are expensive, and it's basically spelled correctly. I mean, people use the word med for medical. It's abbreviated, so it's a cool name. All right, so I'll do one or two more if you guys can post something nice for me. Okay, Ryder has some short ones, so that's a good idea to just get different types of names. I'm just looking at what else you guys put up here before I pick one or two. I'll do like two more and let you guys have lunch. And then I'm going to the Florida Med Spa. So we're going to do WWII, which we have no idea what it means. W-E-H-E. So again, a four-letter word right off the bat. If they're good characters, they'll usually sell for about $5,000. But some of them are great and worth millions, like I own obey.com, for example, which is worth millions. So again, we're going to disambiguate it and figure out what this thing means. WWII is an app, at least, if nothing else. What does WWII do? It's an app for internet service providers. So we know what one person uses it for. What else is it? He knew, that's a typo. They were going to put we knew, then they changed it to he knew, and they screwed it up. So it got indexed as WWII. Somebody's last name, David WWII. So again, as a last name, it could be worth $10,000 immediately if it's a popular last name, because they could start WWII Corporation, or their great grandkids could. 4 letters. So again, it's another case, the superpremium.com domain that will not go down in value. Will determine today's value, whatever it is, it's going to go up. If it was a crappy domain, it has no value and it's not going to go up. If it's a good domain, it has value and it will go up. Using Google isn't pleasant because they keep changing the result numbers. They both can't be right. It can't be 188 results in that screen. And on this screen, there's 5.2 million results for the exact same word. So Google is stinky monopoly. A competitor I could call and say, hey, can you fix these bugs? Sure, man. So again, it's 4 letters. There's a lot of stuff going on here. There are brands that are already using it. I mean, right off the bat, there's last names. We know it's worth at least 10,000 before we even look at anything. Could be worth a lot more once we study it. So what does it mean? Could mean a few things to a few people. I think I need to research the disambiguation, what it means. We, he, ihi. I'm not sure if that word translates or that's just a silly expression. Well, Soren, is it a German word?
Which one? Yeah, of course. Wehe, wenn sie losgelassen. It's you can't translate it one to one. It's like if they get released from the leash, they will run away. Something like this.
But just wehe, though. What? Just that first word.
Wehe. I don't know how to translate that, to be honest.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
Well, the answer is there's all kinds of activity here for wehe.
But it does. It's like a very special use of a verb, which is not very common. So it doesn't. There's no value in the German language behind wehe. Yeah.
Right. That makes sense. If it did, there'd be much more hits to it. But having said that, it has a lot of value to a lot of other people. There's apps. It probably translates in other languages. Just being 4 letters, I mean, you and I could create a new company and buy that domain and, world's excellent health Europeans, whatever, I'm just making up stupid stuff, but you could buy that and create a new company name and use that as the acronym if you wanted to. It'd be a really cool acronym, really.
But it's like a brandable domain, right? It's like,
yeah.
What do you think? Like 3 to 10K or something? Whatever.
No, again, I mean, much more than that. It's
more than that. Okay.
I mean, it was 10K just because it's 4 letters and just because people use it in business. Period. That's before I did any research. As I do the research, you see there's a lot of activity here, a lot of weird stuff going on. Brands. God knows. I mean, I could research this more, but it could be any industrial corporation. Could be a car company. I mean, who the hell knows what it? I don't know if you can see this screen, but this is looks like a pizza company or a pizza utensils company. Wehe is one. So there's a bunch of companies that use it. Again, we don't know how big this company is, but we don't need to know. So let's just research. Let's just go back to the fundamentals to get a valuation. The fundamentals are, what does it mean? It means a lot of things to a lot of people. It's 4 letters. It's 4 good letters that flow really nicely. It's not 4 awkward letters. It sounds cool. There's people using it in commerce. There's an app. There's businesses, industries, last name. There could be more businesses, industries, last names now and in the future. So, it has a lot of current value, and 4-letter domains in general should have value. They're all very hard to do. This is an interesting device called a wehe. What is that thing? I have no idea what it is. Is it a coffee maker? I don't know what the hell it is. Doesn't really matter. So the question is, what is wehe.com worth? So, I mean, there's no right answer, but I would list it at $30,000.
Mike, I have a question to you. Do you sometimes also sell wholesale, or you only sell direct?
In the sense, do I sell bulk, like a bulk deal?
No, not necessarily bulk, but that individual domains, that you sell it to other domainers, or do you 100% focus on selling to the end customer?
I don't know. Well, the end customer usually are domainers just making investments. They, domainers. I mean, they haggle me to death till, they wait till I'm totally broke, and then they haggle me all night long until I agree to their price, until I'm too tired to fight anymore. But they end up being, they have the money and they need the domains and they speculate. So the domainers buy probably 70% of the inventory.
Okay, I see. So 70-30, something like this.
I mean, maybe not that much. I haven't really done an accurate study. Maybe it's about 50-50 as far as the actual, not the number of domains, but the revenue, because the domainers buy more expensive domains because they're trying to buy the best stuff in the world for their portfolio.
Okay.
They're the smart buyers. The other people are just trying to be cheap, and everybody's trying to be cheap, but the other people are just trying to get a quick little cheap name for their website. The domainers are trying to buy the very best domain at the lowest price that they can keep in their portfolio forever or sell for $1 million. I mean, it's part of their business model. Whereas most of the sales are lower end, but they're to people that are spending less money that don't need it for the same purpose.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
Oh, it's all good. Do we have one more to do here before I let you guys go? Did you see any others on there, Soren? Or here's one that looks pretty good from Sunny, Astrology Center. Sounds solid.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yes.
You can still see my screen, right?
Yes. The WWII screen, so we don't see the new screen. You pop in information.
Oh, you don't see? Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
I have too many screens open. Whoa, cool. Okay, so Astrology Center. I'm guessing Sunny's Indian. It's all about Indian stuff. So first we need to know what it means. Astrology is different than astronomy. Astrology is studying, abstract ideas in the stars. Astronomy is actual scientific fact. Well, astrology is actually, it's like, that's what Callie does, our last guest, some of this, like sort of past life readings and, I don't know how to explain it, but I guess.
And advertisement looks as nice as this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're going to disambiguate it. It means it's a center that does astrology. And again, astrology is this spiritual art that is very popular. And turns out we're going to do the breadth. The breadth is how many astrology centers are there in the world? First of all, there's tons of them. And second of all, they use that exact match expression, which is an awesome idea. Now, there are potential alternatives, although I can't think of any other way to say astrology because it would mean something different. It wouldn't mean astrology. If you said spiritual center, it would not mean astrology, so that wouldn't count. You could say astrology centers plural, but all these people have one center. If you did it plural, there wouldn't be much breadth. There aren't that many people that own more than one center. So as far as getting the breadth out of it, you want it to be singular. In this case, astrology center, easy to spell. It has a tremendous breadth. There's a ton of companies that use that exact word. And the depth is whoever the millionaire out of these 100 companies are, if he was a really smart person or she was a really smart person, would buy that thing today. They'd be stupid not to buy it. And in fact, this is an example of the millions of domains that are on the secondary market that have no business on the secondary market. Somebody should be using this name. There's 1,000 astrology centers. We see them right here. They're all stupid because every single one could have a better domain, astrologycenter.com. It's going to go up in value forever, assuming you know the right price now. So again, we know what it means. The breadth is very broad and the depth is very deep because since there's so many of them and somebody's making a lot of money here, there's a lot of depth. I'm going to just check one more thing real quick to make sure it looks good here. It's got YouTube action, the Astrology Center of America, Star Astrology Center. Again, well, the most dilution would be the Astrology Center. So that's where you would get the most dilution right here, the Astrology Center. VIP Astrology Center. So the answer is it's a great, great name. It's very valuable. As far as I know, it's a growing art, growing spiritual art, growing commerce. I don't know much about it, but it's a really awesome name. I can tell by the research we just did. So we're going to come up with a price. Then we're going to let you guys go about your day. I really appreciate you, Soren, helping me with everything. And Callie was an awesome guest. So it's just another beautiful live stream day. So grateful. Astrologycenter.com. So again, it's a great name. It's a little long, and I barely know what astrology means, but I don't need to know what it means. It just has a lot of breadth and a lot of depth. Despite it being a little long, it's pretty easy to spell. I wouldn't discount it any. I would give it a high value. So I can do my little game. Is it worth 100,000? That's extreme. Is it worth 20,000?
Wow.
It's not worth 100,000. It's worth 20,000. That's not fair to the seller. It's too low. It's worth 50,000. Might be in the range. 25,000 too low. 40 sounds pretty fair actually. 30 too cheap. I would sell it for 30, but I would list it higher. But again, it's kind of long and you really need the money. So 35,000.
That was amazing feedback, Mike. I mean, for me, it was a big learning curve. Thanks a lot for that.
Thank you for helping me with everything. Hey, we got my buddy Greg here. What's up, Greg? Okay, well, this has been an awesome session, and I'm so grateful that you guys joined me. And it's going to be logged on YouTube forever, so you can check it out later on. I'll post some links. I have great guests the next few weeks as well. So thanks again, Soren. You're the man. I appreciate all your help. Everybody have a beautiful day and a beautiful week.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.